Hey, Eric.
How's it going tonight, John?
It is going well. We're on the clock here a little bit.
Yeah, a little warm too.
Well, that's kind of the deal because in, I'm down in Texas. Texas is hot. I miss Oregon. I'm here. I'm here for like 30 seconds. I walked out of the airport and was like, okay, then we're not in Oregon anymore. So, but then I'm really we're on the clock because in my room there's the fan is has got a blade that's unbalanced or something because the AC fan is makes noise.
Noisy.
Yeah, so I've turned off the AC. So,
Living on the edge.
well, let's not record so long that I die of heat stroke. It's fine. it's like 11:30 at night. I'm sure it's fine. Anyway, but
Yeah.
Texas is hot. Oregon Oregon
Yeah.
is not. I just noticed that you wrote that in there. Very nice. So, what did you do this weekend?
So we're going camping this next weekend, and I have two daughters who are not interested in camping. So I made daughter number two a deal that if she got a job and had to work, then she wouldn't have to go camping this weekend. Guess who got a job
The things
and
that
is
somebody
working
will
this
do
weekend?
to not that. Okay, I'm sorry. That doesn't compute to me, but okay. Wow.
Yes. And since she's 16, I told older daughter that she could stay home and make sure, she's 20. Said, well, you can stay home and make sure she was okay. So I think they both colluded,
Aw.
collaborated.
Aw. So now you're down to 3.
Yes, it's just my wife and my boy.
Well, I hope that you have a good time.
It'll be fun and it's only for actually it's going to be really quick. We're just out at the coast for Friday night, and then Saturday driving home, and then I'm taking daughter number one back to college. So 12-hour road trip. We're just going to drive to Boise though, and then stay in Boise Saturday, and then drive the rest of the way Sunday. So.
Oh, wow. But that means you're coming back from the coast and getting to Boise in one day.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to be in the car quite a bit on Saturday.
I hope that you have some podcasts to listen to.
Oh, yeah. I got plenty.
Yeah. I can give you some audiobook recommendations.
I actually have started downloading some in the Libby app. So I've got 2 books I'm currently reading, and I got my name in for a number of audiobooks. So
Okay.
we shall see.
Well, you put something in follow-up.
There was one note from Troy Hunt that is about EV Certs. So we've talked about the certificates for browsers with the little green lock icon and the lock icon, and how browser manufacturers are going away from, making the lock. The lock doesn't mean what people have thought it meant. Anyway, so the Chrome security team has determined that the EV Cert, that's extended validation certificates, is a certificate that's more expensive, a little bit harder to get because you have to prove you are the company you say you are. But they're getting rid of that in the browser UI because it really doesn't protect users as expected. And so it's just a tweet by Troy Hunt officially declaring for all intents and purposes that EV is now dead once Chrome removes it. And Apple removed it a while ago. So you no longer see the name of the company of the cert in the browser.
Right.
So, and that's in your Chrome now or in Chrome very shortly, depending on your update schedule.
If you've been moved to 77, let me see.
That's the one.
About Google Chrome. I'm still on 76. The slow rollout has not reached the slow John yet. I don't know what I feel about that. I think I think it's ironic because in my topic that I was going to bring in today, EV certs were actually mentioned as something that Microsoft requires for drivers. So maybe they'll stay on for some purposes, or maybe not. Even after the browser goes away.
Well, and actually on that thread, the Twitter thread there, someone asks, what about code signing, EV certs for code signing? And Scott Helm, who works with Troy Hunt, tweeted back, said, no, this is just referring to the TLS certs in the browser and browser-related UI stuff. It's not related to code signing EV certs. So,
okay,
there you go.
Evidently, this thread is long enough that Twitter hasn't loaded it all. I can't search. I can't search on the thread for the signing. Okay, all right, good. That's good to know. All right, what's your topic tonight?
All right, so I have two topics. The first one, we've talked about AWS a number of times and the privileges and access, identity management
IAM
that AWS provides. And this was a tweet that identified 5,985 different privileges that are available in AWS.
Oh, my gracious.
And 2,505, so roughly 42%, are global privileges, meaning they apply to everything. They're on or off. Either you can use that, whatever that privilege provides you, or you can't. You can't limit it to only certain S3 buckets or only certain other types of things.
There's no asset that your asset or operation that it's applied to.
Right. It's a global privilege. And then it mentioned, just specifically, it called out EC2. So those are your little servers that you can run. Has
or big servers, not necessarily little servers. If you got the pocketbook.
I won't use little. The EC2 servers that you can spin up and have them do pretty much anything you want in AWS. There are 338 specific privileges for EC2, and of those, 259, or 3/4 roughly, are the same issue, global. Either that privilege allows you to do something or not. And the thread kind of goes through and documents, the Twitter thread documents a few places where maybe some of these things you don't want to actually let anybody do, changing or modifying things with an EC2 instance. Maybe that's something you only want certain people to be allowed to do, but it's either someone can do it or they can't. And they can do it on all the EC2 instances or none of the EC2 instances in your AWS account, kind of thing. So,
wow, that's interesting to have those stats.
I just thought the stats were entertaining. And then my second article was from Microsoft. They did their August Patch Tuesday, and they fixed 93 different security bugs. And the interesting stat in this one, I thought, was there were 4 RDS RCEs, 4 remote desktop, remote code execution vulnerabilities that they patched. And Microsoft said that 2 of them are wormable, and wormable meaning that the attacker can, if they can exploit that bug, then they can spread to other computers and take over other computers without any user interaction. And so those, I think, are if you run Windows, you should keep it up to date and make sure you have this kind of thing patched, because even bugs that have been patched a while ago are still exploited because people don't update their systems. So,
wow, no, those are. a wormable remote code execution is kind of the jackpot.
Uh-huh. That's bonus points for those. So
I wonder when we're sorry, I have to actually look those up. Hold on one second here. So CVE 1181. I wonder when those were disclosed. Interesting. The CVE doesn't actually have it out here. It's a reserved entry.
Well, there you go. So I guess they're holding it out for a little while to make sure everybody can patch as quickly as possible.
Yeah, maybe.
Before the exploits start rolling through the wild.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll probably wind up touching on a little bit of the responsible disclosure and response process. But I think one of the important things to think about, both as a, I guess, consumer of software and an author of software, is you'll never get all the bugs. You'll never find all the bugs. So what is critical is, obviously do as good a job as you can, but it's how often or how fast do you respond, and that happens on both sides of the fence. As a developer of software, it's about how fast can you turn around a good fix and get it deployed, and as a consumer of software or a business enterprise entity, it's how fast can you stay up on the patches, validate if you need to validate, or deploy the patches.
Yep.
Just basic hygiene. But yeah, it's about nimbleness. The agile word has totally been taken over in software development, but it's about
Nimbility.
Nimbility. All right,
I'm just making up words now.
You heard it here first. Nimbility. I like it.
Anyway, so those were the two that I thought were interesting to me this week. Couple numbers and stats, and while Windows is not my primary operating system of choice, I do have a Windows box, and there are still large numbers of people that do. So, patch. All right. I know what yours is, and actually I want to talk about this one. This one was a lot of fun.
Okay, so I maybe there's other stuff that came out of DEF CON. DEF CON was this past weekend, I think. Mm-hmm. And I didn't go to Black Hat either. But I probably saw this because they're friends of ours, or at least acquaintances, we could say.
Yep.
They used to be in McAfee before they went off and started Eclipsium and are kicking ass and taking names. But my topic for this week is a talk that Jesse and Mickey are doing, or did, at DEF CON, which I don't know if there are videos going to be posted, but I'd love to watch it. But they posted the PDF of the slides of the talk on the Eclipsium website. But this is screwed drivers. So this is the thing that seemed like got a lot of traction out of DEF CON. Certainly for me and my feed, but probably, like I said, because I follow them all directly. But this is fun. This is fun. I can totally picture them doing this work too. But so they basically decided to get out of the actual firmware hardware and look at drivers, and they found at least 42 vulnerable drivers with, quote on the slide, more found since. So I'm sure that knowing them, that means they're in the process of responsible disclosure to the additional affected companies. But there are a ton of things in here, and there is a ton of data in this talk. So let me pull out a couple of things. The first thing I wanted to pull out, sorry, I have to get back to slide 20, was sort of the types of attacks that they're talking about here. So the first, so basically this is all about finding finding drivers on systems that you can exploit to gain access or control of some sort. So the scenarios they have are a couple, one of which is, the driver's on the system and loaded, and you can access it potentially by a non-admin. So the second would be drivers on the system but not loaded, so you'd have to load it. You can load a driver via a signed app with a user account control from a trusted vendor, or wait for it to load and attempt to use it then, or bring the third one they outline is bring along a driver. Need admin privileges. So all of these, in all of these cases, you have to get admin, or you have to get access to the device for some other reason. So this is about what do you do once you can. But if you have gotten one vulnerability and you can use this to elevate your privilege, that's pretty powerful. Or in one of the examples they're doing for this was, use it to persist below the OS. So they used an example of LoJax, which was a UEFI persistent rootkit. So the second cool thing that they did about this was they wrote code to automatically scan drivers to find vulnerabilities. So how is kind of meta, but how do you actually find 42 vulnerable drivers is with a little bit of automation. So I'm not familiar with some of the tooling that they have in here, specifically like the Anger tool, but seems pretty genius. And then so that's fantastic. And then the other thing that they had in here, or the next thing they had in here was, what can you do if you have a vulnerable driver? And not all the drivers are vulnerable to the same things. Not all drivers, need access to the same types of I/O, for example. But depending on what the driver's doing, this is the sorts of things you could do are, arbitrary mem copies from ring 0, or memory writes to physical memory. If you have, if you have driver access, you can find physical addresses given a virtual address. They have a little code snippet in here for this. The next was interesting. So arbitrary MSR read and write. And I actually didn't, of course these guys know because they're old time hardware guys, but MSR is model specific registers. So on the chip, they could add a register for an experimental feature that might or might not exist in the future. And then some of those, some of those, if they don't exist, you wouldn't be vulnerable. But some of them have wind up getting classified as architectural for future persistence and will be there in the future. And and it says in the deck at least that those registers are only accessible by ring 0, but that's pretty critical. But it's followed by the arbitrary control register read and write, and basically the control registers can, I guess, do what they sound like. They control features of the CPU itself. So, for example, turning on protected mode, turning on write protect, turning on execution protection, SMEP and SMAP, et cetera, et cetera. So if you can have arbitrary control register read and write, well, that's a way of basically causing the cops to look the other way while you do something. These are not the droids you're looking for. So But then the last thing that I wanted to pull out of this, and that, sorry, then we should I should let you talk too, but was their disclosures. So, these guys meme very well. I see bad drivers. They're everywhere. They don't even know they're bad drivers.
Yeah.
Sixth sense. Oh my gosh, it's fantastic. But the disclosure slide that they have is is interesting. It has a lot of logos on it.
And I am not a Windows person, but I recognize a lot of those logos.
Yeah, ATI, Asus, MSI, Gigabyte. Is that AMC? Inside, NVIDIA, American Megatrends, like all the BIOS vendors. Intel, Huawei, BioStar, Supermicro, EVGA, Phoenix, ASRock, Toshiba. Lots, including at least a couple that are redacted for presumably they're in the disclosure period. Crazy, huh?
Yeah, this was very... I hadn't actually read this until you mentioned this tonight, so I haven't read through it in detail, but just scrolling through the presentation, the PDF of their presentation, I really want to watch the video because in my head I can hear Jesse and Mickey chatting.
I can too. So,
about some of these things. So
yeah,
and I'm curious what they have a slide that shows demo. I'm curious what their demo was.
Yeah, I don't know if it was actually of one of sort of getting root, or was it a demo of the automated scanning of drivers to find vulnerabilities.
And they put all that code on GitHub, at least according to the presentation. It's all out there on GitHub. So
there's a link.
If you build drivers, maybe, hey, get your QA or your engineers to throw that in your test suite.
Exactly. Make sure that
test your own drivers.
Yeah. So the last thing about this that I thought was good was their slides on like how the response to disclosures, let's say.
Right.
So evidently they love Phoenix Technologies.
Yes. They were a very positive response.
Yeah. Sent disclosure Friday 5 p.m. Response came back Saturday morning. Fix ready to start deployment in 6 weeks. Perfect. and then there's the Microsoft slide. What's the policy for bad drivers? Not a security issue. Open a regular ticket. Are you sure? Yeah, not an issue. Are you really, really sure? Fine, we'll check. Okay, we'll do something.
Yeah.
Are you really, really sure? Anyway, so then they had a slide here for ASRock, which is their memes are fantastic. I don't know them either, but all the primitives in one driver: physical and virtual memory read and write to the MSRs, read and write control registers, legacy read and write PCI via in and out. So yeah, the most vulnerable, evidently. And I also got to know what's with the NVIDIA and the blue ribbon for you tried. Did they say anything in the presentation? I don't know. I want to know.
I need to see the video. That's what I'm saying. We need video.
Okay. All right. We'll have to ask for a link.
All right.
So anyway, that was my topic. I thought that looks like that was a great presentation.
I agree. You starting to sweat yet?
It is definitely warmer in here. Yes. I tell you, every time I walked out of a building for the last 2 days, I was like, oh, and
this is why I will never move here.
It looked pleasant from inside.
Yeah. All right. Well, So something fun.
Let's do something fun.
So my something fun this week is right up your alley, John.
Uh-oh. Cool.
Space.
I like space.
There's a website called Spaceflight Now, and it's about the Atlas V rocket launch, but ignore the rocket launch in the Atlas V, and it was there carrying a military communication satellite. What is cool about this link is the pictures, because it was delayed from when it should have launched, and so it launched right at sunrise. And some of the time-lapse photos that were taken are just really cool.
Whoa, okay.
So, yeah, if you look through, just kind of scroll through the pictures. Anyways, that's really what my something fun is the very cool time-lapse photography and photography of this launch that happened right at, the break of day. So...
Looks like the sort of stuff you'd see from toy rockets and local smoke, but really it's it's continental in size.
Yes,
oh,
it is
awesome.
really cool.
I hadn't seen this before, so I'm looking at these.
Yeah, you got to get the last 3 or 4 pictures are where it's at.
Wow.
Anyways, so that was my something fun. Go check out Spaceflight Now, and the title of the article is Atlas V paints the sky with spectacular sunrise launch. And the photos are really cool.
Very cool. Okay. Well, those are some cool photos. All right. John Gold Star of approval.
I wonder what John's something fun is.
Dang it. You're right. So I actually didn't have something fun when we started figuring out what we were going to talk about tonight. So I was like, wait, crap. Why did I not do anything fun this week? But I decided that I would do the Perseid Meteor shower, which is happening. Well, the peak of it is last night and tonight. So by the time this episode is edited and posted, it will have been in history. But
missed it.
The Perseids come every year, and it's caused when Earth passes through the path of the Swift-Tuttle comet every year, and that is this year at least from July 17th to August 24th, but the peak is tonight and yesterday night, the August 12th and 13th. Although the moon is bright, so it's not as good as if you could get out somewhere in a new moon. But I have specifically gone out and watched the Perseids a couple of times in my life, and there's something very, very cool about going out someplace where it's really, really dark. And my best memory is laying in the back of a pickup truck with blankets or sleeping bags or something like that to keep us warm, but out where it was really dark, and we were able to look up and watch the meteors. Very cool. And I've also got maybe that's why I like space so much, because I've got other great memories of all the way back in high school going out where there's no artificial light anywhere nearby, and watching looking up at the stars without magnifying glass or anything, and being able to see satellites traversing the sky. Although at the time, which was a very long time ago, there weren't that many. It seems to me like we were out somewhere pretty dark in the last year or so, because it's pretty light around where we live. It's hard to get out where it's really, really dark and you have a good view of the sky. But it's amazing how many more satellites you see these days. But it's still fun. It's great to get out and somewhere where you don't have all the light pollution.
Yeah. Well, now that reminds me of an app, something fun. Have you seen the app Star Walk?
Star Walk. I'm not sure I know that one.
There is an app called Star Walk, and they're version 2 now. So it's Star Walk 2 if you go on your iPhone to Star Walk. You can use the augmented reality to point your phone at the night sky, and it will show you all the constellations. It'll show you where different stars are. You can have it show you where all the satellites are, the International Space Station, where the planets are. It is actually really cool.
I have had an app like that. I haven't used it for a while, and searching star and a few other things on my phone doesn't show it up. I don't remember what it was called, but I will have to look that up. Star Walk.
Star Walk 2 would be right up your alley, I think. It's really kind of cool. Anyways.
Okay. Well, I'll throw that link in here too.
Finish with a bunch of space stuff.
Fun.
Space
All right.
fun.
All right.
To
I
finish
like space.
the show.
I like space. Okay. Sounds good. All right. I am definitely ready to go put on my air conditioning. So let's call it an episode, eh, Eric?
All right. Have a good night, John. See you when you're back.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.